My husband staged a home invasion to cover up the fact that he gave my grandmother's diamond necklace to his mistress. The robber was his own brother. Let me take you back to how this all started. 2 months ago, I was living what I thought was the perfect life. Marcus and I had been married for 6 years, owned a beautiful home in suburbia, and were finally trying for kids. He was the kind of husband who brought me coffee in bed every morning and still held my hand during movies. But then small things started feeling off. It began with my jewelry box. I'm not someone who wears a lot of jewelry, but I have a few precious pieces from my grandmother who passed away when I was 16. Her diamond necklace was my most treasured possession, the one thing I planned to pass down to my future daughter. One Tuesday morning, I went to grab my earrings and noticed the necklace wasn't in its usual spot. I figured I'd moved it and forgot. We'd had some work done on the house recently, so maybe I'd put it somewhere safe. "Hey babe, have you seen my grandmother's necklace?" I asked Marcus over breakfast. He barely looked up from his phone. "No, why would I know where your jewelry is?" Something about his tone felt sharp. Defensive. But I brushed it off. 3 days later, I tore the house apart looking for it. Nothing. I was starting to panic when Marcus suggested maybe the cleaning lady had moved it. "You know how Maria reorganizes everything," he said, rubbing my shoulders. "I'm sure it'll turn up." But Maria had been cleaning our house for 3 years. She knew not to touch my jewelry box. The weirdest part? Marcus seemed almost calm about the whole thing. If my wife's most precious family heirloom went missing, I'd be calling police, turning the house upside down. But Marcus just kept saying it would turn up. Then came the night that changed everything. I was working late when I heard glass breaking downstairs. My heart stopped. I grabbed my phone and hid in our bedroom closet, hands shaking as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? Someone broke into my house, I whispered. I can hear them downstairs. The dispatcher kept me on the line while I listened to footsteps, drawers opening, things being moved around. It felt like hours before I heard sirens. When the police arrived, they found our back door shattered, the living room ransacked, and several items missing from Marcus's office. His laptop, some cash, and, the officer informed me, it looked like they'd gone through my jewelry box upstairs. Marcus came home 20 minutes later, supposedly from his weekly poker game. He was devastated, holding me while I cried about losing my grandmother's necklace forever. I'm so sorry, baby, he kept saying. Insurance will cover everything else, but I know that necklace meant everything to you. The police took statements, dusted for prints, told us they'd be in touch. Standard break-in, they said. Happened all the time in our neighborhood. But something felt wrong. Really wrong. First, our alarm system had been disabled. Marcus said he must have forgotten to set it, but he was obsessive about that alarm. Never forgot once in 6 years. Second, they took his laptop but left my much newer MacBook sitting right next to it. They took some cash but missed the envelope with $800 sitting in plain sight on the kitchen counter. And third, this is what really got to me, they'd gone through my jewelry box but left behind pieces worth more than my grandmother's necklace. They took the one thing that had pure sentimental value and couldn't be replaced. I started having nightmares. Not about the break-in, but about Marcus's face when he came home that night. Something about his reaction felt rehearsed. 2 weeks later, I was getting my hair done when my stylist, Jennifer, started gossiping about her neighbor. "Girl, you won't believe this drama," she said, sectioning my hair. "My neighbor's husband bought his side piece this gorgeous diamond necklace. The wife saw them at dinner downtown, and she said the necklace looked like something from the 1940s. Real vintage stuff." My blood went cold. What did the husband look like? Tall guy, dark hair, drives a black BMW. Marcus drove a black BMW. Did you say the restaurant downtown? Yeah, Salvatore's. Friday night. Marcus told me he was at poker that Friday. But Salvatore's was where he took me for our anniversary every year. I felt like I was going to throw up right there in the salon chair. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through Marcus's phone while he showered. What I found destroyed me. Months of messages to someone named Bree. Photos I couldn't unsee. Plans for hotel visits on nights he told me he was working late. And then, buried in their conversation from 3 weeks ago. Baby, you're going to love your surprise tonight, smiling face with heart eyes. What is it? Something that belonged to queens. Perfect for my queen red heart. The timestamp was 7:30 p.m. The same Friday Jennifer mentioned. The same Friday he claimed he was at poker. But that wasn't even the worst part. Scrolling back further, I found this exchange from the day before our break-in. Everything set for tomorrow? Yeah, Danny knows what to do. In and out, quick and clean. You sure he won't mess this up? He's my brother, he's not stupid. Just make sure you're at poker like we planned. What about the alarm? I'll handle it. Trust me. Danny. Marcus's younger brother Danny, who'd been struggling with money, who Marcus was always trying to help out. I screenshotted everything with shaking hands, my heart pounding so loud I was sure Marcus would hear it over the shower. But I wasn't done. I needed proof. The next day, I called in sick to work and drove to Danny's apartment across town. He answered the door looking like he hadn't slept in days. Oh, hey Sarah. Marcus isn't here. I know about the break-in, Danny. His face went completely white. For a moment, we just stared at each other. I don't know what you're talking about. The necklace. My grandmother's necklace. You gave it to Marcus to give to his girlfriend. Danny's shoulders sagged like all the air went out of him. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do it, but I owe some bad people money, and Marcus said he'd pay off my debt if I helped him with this one thing. He said it was just going to be a simple staged break-in, take some stuff to make it look real, and nobody would get hurt. Nobody would get hurt? I was shaking with rage. That was my grandmother's necklace, Danny. The only thing I had left of her. I know. I told Marcus it was wrong, but he said you'd never notice it was gone, that you never wore it anyway. He needed it to look like a real robbery. The final piece clicked into place. Marcus knew I rarely wore the necklace, but he also knew it was my most precious possession. He figured if it got stolen in a break-in, I'd be devastated, but I'd never suspect him. He could give it to his mistress without me ever knowing it wasn't really gone. Where is she, Danny? Where's this woman? He gave me an address. An hour later, I was parked outside a trendy apartment complex, watching a woman I'd never seen before walk out wearing my grandmother's necklace. She was younger than me, blonde, beautiful. Everything I imagined Marcus would want instead of his boring wife who worked too much and forgot to wear makeup. But seeing her wearing my necklace, the one my grandmother wore on her wedding day, the one she held while telling me stories about true love, something inside me snapped. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I went home and planned. First, I called my lawyer and filed for divorce, providing all the screenshots and evidence I'd gathered. Then I called the police and told them I had new information about our break-in, specifically, that I had evidence it was staged by my husband and his brother. But the most satisfying part was my final move. I created a fake social media account and sent Marcus's mistress a friend request, pretending to be someone from her yoga class. She accepted immediately. Then I sent her a private message.